Happy Wine Wednesday, everyone. I am sipping on some Pinot Noir, and we have an extra special guest tonight. As usual, Holly, Ray. Oh, no, Ray's not here, actually. I'm announcing my silly usual announcement. I've got Holly, Vincent, and Cheryl with me, but we have special guest Robert King of Robert King's Zombie Clownfish with us to discuss everything going on in his area of the world and of course the CharChambers that he has introduced us Seahorse folks to that we love. And we're going to learn about some new updates. We're going to learn about some new things, and there might just be a giveaway at the end. Apologies for not announcing it. I didn't know until 5 minutes ago. But stay tuned because if you comment on this stream, Tank Talk with Tyann is in the background, and she plans on entering your names into a drawing. We're going to have a drawing for 2 different CharChambers and then 2 different char, which Robert will tell us about in just a little bit, his new char and how he developed it. But welcome, Robert. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, thank you. And how is everybody else doing?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Doing good.
Good. Yeah, I was really looking forward to doing this live with you guys tonight. I love your show. I try to get on as often as possible, and yeah, I'm really glad to be here.
So before we get into the chambers and the char, anything new in your area of the woods? Because I miss all of your amazing live streams. I do tune in when I can, but Holly comes and tells us about all of your cool live streams because she watches them all the time. And like she told us recently that you have the oldest pair of breeding clownfish. And I mean, you've got all these new things going on. What's going on with you in general?
Well, I'll give you a little backstory. You know, when I was 12 years old, I started breeding guppies, like most people, and I got a pair of guppies. Actually, it was a pair of guppies that they were Siamese twins. So it was one guppy with 2 heads on one of my live births, and I said, I'm going to try to keep this alive. And they told me at the pet store that it'll be dead tomorrow. And I didn't let that happen. I target fed each head, and I kept that baby alive for about 2 weeks. And that's what really spawned my interest, pun intended, to breed fish. And I went from the guppies, mollies, and then African cichlids, and then I went to saltwater fish, the clownfish. Now my sister had a store, and I helped her build it. I went there, and I with my cardboard sign, "Will work for fish," and and I got a pair of clownfish. And my brother-in-law said, I said, I want that one and that one. He said, what's the difference? I said, well, those 2 are hanging out together. I'm going to try to breed them. He said, you can't do that. You can't breed them. And that was back in the 90s. And very few people were able to do that. And I managed to get them to breed. Took a while. Got them to breed. It took me 2 years to get my first larval clownfish to live.
Wow.
Whenever I tried to ask anyone about it, they were very tight-lipped. Nobody was giving away any information on how to breed. And very few people knew. And then I met a woman named Bridget Green, who is an amazing woman. She's from Australia, and she got her PhD in marine biology, and she did her thesis on breeding clownfish. So she was my mentor. And if you have a chance, just Google Bridget Green. She's an awesome person. So she gave me some pointers, and I was able to get a fish to live. So I don't ever want anyone to have to go 2 years to try to get a larval clownfish to live. So that's why I do my page. That's why I've been doing my page since 2017. And yes, and I do have a pair of clownfish that are 31 years old, 31 plus years old. They've been in captivity for 29 years, and they're still spawning, which is one for the record books, absolutely. They are the parents of the infamous black zombie clownfish. Now, what happened, and I'll tell you the backstory on that, too, if I have a minute.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah.
I got a pair of wild-caught black Darwins. They came to the fish store in 1994, and they were purchased by an airplane pilot. I don't remember his last name. His name was Joe, and he was going through a bad divorce, and he couldn't keep the fish. So the pet store gave him my name and number, and he called me. And they said, this is your best bet at keeping the fish, well and safe and alive. And thank goodness I've been doing that for the most part. So he gave me the fish, and I was breeding them, and they were producing, little black offspring and, beautiful babies. And then I got another pair. A guy said to me, hey, if you can give me some of your babies, your orange, I had a regular ocellaris. If you can give me some babies, I would trade you for a pair of wild-caught black Darwin clownfish. And I said, wow, I already have a pair of wild-caught, but sure, I'll take another pair. Why not? So I had another pair of wild-caught black Darwins now, and they were also producing beautiful, black offspring. And then one day, the original pair, well, we'll call her Jane because that was her name. The female got a little scratch on her head, and 2 days later she died from infection. I didn't catch it. I couldn't do anything about it. I was devastated. It was very upsetting. So in the other pair, the female was about ready to kill the male because he was eating out of turn. Don't do that if you're a clownfish. Do not eat out of turn. So she was dragging around the tank by his gill, so that wasn't good. So I said, all right, I'll take that female and I'll put her with the other male. So I did that, and they started breeding immediately. And as soon as they started breeding, I noticed a peculiar fish in the offspring. It was very orange, and I just couldn't get it to live. I didn't have CharChambers back then. I didn't come out with them until about a year and a half ago. So I didn't have a CharChamber, but I tried. I tried to keep them alive, and I kept some of the blacks alive, but I was only getting a few each time, like 8 or 10 babies. That was it. And I couldn't get it to live. And I wasn't sure what I had. And then I had the hatch on April 1st, 2012. I remember the day because I still have 3 fish from that hatch. My April Fool's babies. They are almost 11 years old. April 1st will be 11 years old. And that's when I saw the zombies. The orange fish, and I had them in a pet store. That's where I was doing the breeding, and people walked in and said, "Wow, look at those red eyes!" And when they were tiny, I could not see the red in the eyes, and everyone else they could see it. Maybe I just have poor vision. I don't know, but I couldn't see the red. And when they got bigger, oh yeah, you can definitely see the red without a doubt. Beautiful, bright red eyes, and that's called ocular albinism. It's because there's no melanin in the retina or the iris of the eye. So what you're seeing is actually the blood behind the eyeball, which is pretty cool. Now, wild-caught black Darwin clownfish, they only did that for about 6 months. Back in the early 90s, probably around 92, is when they caught these black Darwins. Now, the story was, in Darwin, Australia, they said, we don't want to take any more fish off our reef. And that's why we're stopping, we're not going to import or export any more fish. And then I met someone from Darwin, Australia, and they said, no, that's not the true story. The true story is they stopped collecting because the scuba divers that were collecting the fish were getting eaten by crocodiles.
Oh my God.
And it's a much cooler story, not for the scuba divers, but it's a cooler story. So, yeah, so I've been breeding for a very long time, and then I was watching a live, or I had someone come on a live with me telling me about the char that he had, which worked really well, really good stuff. And I said he told me a story about how they used that in an orphanage in Uganda. They started out in Nigeria in a catfish farm. They put it in a catfish farm in Nigeria, and all the babies, miraculously stayed alive now. They were only living for 2 weeks before that. And then they put it into a borehole in Uganda, and they pumped water through a 10-foot long piece of PVC that was packed full of char, and it came out the other end drinkable. Now, the kids in the orphanage, there were 40 of them, they were walking 5 kilometers each way with buckets to go down to the polluted stream to carry the water back to the orphanage. And then they would boil it a couple times, and they were still getting dysentery, and it just wasn't good. It was really polluted. So they came up with that borehole, and the water, when it went through the PVC with the char, it came out drinkable to the point, they were filling up big, huge containers and just turning a faucet and getting water. The elders in the orphanage were in tears when they found out they could do that and drink crystal clear, non-toxic water. So I took that a step further, and I decided I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that miniaturized version, and I came up with the idea to make that chamber for the sponge filter. Now, and I didn't want to implement a pump to pump the water up through, so that's why I got the sponge filter. You put the air line here, and the water will come up through the sponge, come up through the filter, and out these little holes here. And the air going through the char feeds the bacteria. Now it starts out as a mechanical filter. It'll if you use sponge filters before, they're very good at cleaning the tank and getting all the debris out, and it's mechanical. Now you add this and it becomes biological relatively quickly. Within a couple days you have bacteria in this char.
Robert, really quick, isn't it chemical
Yeah.
also? Like it's mechanical, chemical, and biological, correct? Or am I wrong?
No chemical. No
Okay,
chemical.
Okay, go on.
Nope. So it becomes biological, and the great thing about this is it lasts about 1,000 years, unless you pack it loosely and it all churns up and breaks down. But no, it doesn't go bad ever.
Mm-hmm.
It just works. It works for a very, very long time. Now you can change it if you like. You don't have to. I've had filters running a year and they're doing great. I know people who have run the char for 5 years without an issue. When it breaks down, you have to replenish it. That's all. And it will break down if it's not packed properly. And even if it is, it'll still break down eventually. So the air brings the oxygen to the aerobic bacteria, the good stuff, the good bacteria. Now that bacteria works as a probiotic, and what it does is it aids in digestion for the larval fish, for the baby fish, and even for adult fish and seahorses. It aids in their digestion. Probiotics are good, and it also relieves stress. I haven't seen any fish with flared gills since I've used the CharChambers, which is amazing because I've had flared gills in just about every baby tank I ever had, because they lay on the bottom, they lay in their feces. If the lights go out and it burns their gills, it's not good. No more of that. No more disease. The first one I used in a quarantine tank. So I had it in the quarantine tank for about 7 or 8 months. No water changes, just makeup water. That's it. Yeah, that's incredible. And I noticed that if you do water changes, it doesn't work as good. I don't know. I think that bacteria thrives on the waste. And so I put it in a quarantine tank for about 8 months, and those fish, they were ravenous. I never saw fish eat like that. And I had the little baby tank, and I was trying to catch when the ammonia spike started in the baby tank, a standalone tank, just a filter and a heater and an air stone. And then I noticed every time I tested for ammonia, I would be too late. And there'd be 5 babies on the bottom, then the next day there'd be another 5, and before long I had just a couple left. The strong survived basically. So what I did was I noticed I put an ammonia badge in there, and I noticed the ammonia badge went up to alert. This is safe. This is alert, and then alarm and toxic or whatever it is on there. But I noticed it hit alert, and I looked at it. I said, "Oh, I wonder." So I grabbed the char chamber out of the quarantine tank, and I put it right into the baby tank. And within an hour, it was back down to safe, and it stayed there. I haven't done a water change on a baby tank in, I can't even tell you how long.
Wow.
It's been months and months and months. and they are thriving. I have 100% survival rate most of the time. I can't say all the time because there's heater malfunctions, or I took the air stone out to scrape the bottom and I forgot to put it back in. My memory isn't the greatest these days, but I try. But I have been getting a lot of 100% survival rates, which is incredible. Now, if you've ever seen Fish Room North, that's my sister's house. She offered to give me some space in her basement to set up a couple tanks. So I set up 4 40-gallon tanks and a 40-gallon sump, and I brought some fish over there. Within the year, I have over 1,200 fish there that are all, getting real big. But she feeds with a heavy hand too. And again, we did our first water change there yesterday. Yesterday was probably real close to a year that those tanks have been set up. The first tank I set up was a 40-gallon breeder. I put 40 gallons of water in there. I put a heater, an air stone, and a char chamber in that tank. And on the same day, first day, 250 clownfish.
Wow.
On the first day. I noticed on day 7. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I've got questions, but I'm going to let you finish. Sorry.
Okay. I noticed on day 7 on the ammonia alert badge, of course, I had to put one in there. On day 7, it went up to alert, and it stayed there up until about day 21, and then it went back to safe. But it never went up to the alarm mode. It always went to alert. It only went to alert for 7 to 21 days, 14 days, and it came back to safe. And that tank has been, again, we did a water change, first water change yesterday. We did like 12 gallons in a 200-gallon system, so not much of a water change, but
right,
we had to do it.
exactly.
And I'm finding out, now with the new char, I'm finding out more and more. I'm doing a lot of testing. I'll be doing some ICP testing in another month. I have a friend of mine is doing 2 tanks side by side, same tank, same light, same amount of water, same amount of fish, same amount of food. Everything's exactly the same. And he has a pH probe in each one. We're going to test pH. And at the end of the month, we're going to do an ICP test on both tanks and see what we come up with. Now, in one tank, I have the new char. And the other tank, I have the old stuff. So we're going to see what happens. Now, I did notice that, and I'm finding out that the new char really depletes phosphates, nitrates. It will not allow for any nitrites or ammonia. And the algae, I'm not getting algae in the tanks anymore, which is awesome. Now, in Fish Room North, the 4 40-gallon tanks that we have set up, they were getting kind of green. My sister was really getting tired of scraping the glass and trying to clean it up. And we put some new char in some of those I have the big chambers in there. In a couple of the tanks, we put the new char in there, and it took about 3 days, and those tanks are really coming out nice. They're really cleaning up real nice, and I'm very, very happy about that. Now, another thing I noticed with the old char, the pH will drop after about a month or so, month and a half, something like that. It'll start to drop. So you have to pay attention to that if you have the old char, and you need to add a marine buffer if you have that problem. Now, if you have plant life in your tank, you probably won't have that problem. I have standalone tanks, and I was seeing it. I was seeing the pH drop. The new char, however, I have not seen that yet. I have a tank downstairs. I tested on, it was January 31st is when I put the char chamber in there. The babies were 4 days old. The pH was 8.1. I checked again on the 8th of February, and it was 8.1. I checked again on the 15th. It was 8.1. I checked on the 23rd, and it was 8.4. So it's not declining at all. And I also, of course, I take something that's perfect and I try to make it better, but I also I incorporated some a pH buffer in the char as well. So I'm going to see how that works too. So that's another test I have to do with the new char with the buffer.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. We're good. That's really all I have to say about it.
It cut you off because I hit the wrong button. I'm so sorry, Robert. You ended
that's
with
okay.
if what? You said I'm going to test for the pH if. Well, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I forgot.
all right.
That's
So
okay. I'm
first
going
of
to test.
all, go ahead.
I keep testing and testing and testing. I want to make sure that everything is perfect. And so far, so good. I mean, this stuff is really incredible. And um, it costs less, which is
Good.
also a plus,
We
which
always
is
like
also a plus.
costing less.
Yes,
Absolute
yes.
Zero said, my baby clownfish got a huge slice through his tail. With the char chamber in the tank, he was fully healed by the next morning. Amazing. Love to hear that.
Wow.
I also, on the
Wow.
side note, Andrea, I wanted to thank you publicly for recommending guests and such. I see you. I love that you're here. Okay, Robert. So, real quick, I'm going to shoot some questions at you. I was writing them down so I didn't interrupt you. But you said it's not chemical at all. But I thought like charcoal in general was a chemical filtration. Like with the old char, one of the main benefits was that like, I actually did a video for the old char where it shows the char sitting there and the bacteria on the char and the char pulling in the organics chemically, and then the bacteria saying, yay, I get it, and then it keeps it and it uses it. But I mean, it's chemically pulling it in, biologically using it, and that's the whole cool thing about it. But so does the new char not work like charcoal, or
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
I'm
just
sorry.
didn't know?
I thought you meant if it was like no, chemically. I thought you meant it wasn't an activated carbon. It's not.
Oh, okay, okay,
It's not
gotcha.
activated. No. And there's another thing, with this new char. Again, this stuff is made. It was made for what I'm using it for. And it's a
Yep.
real an amazing product. Now, this stuff was it was heated at a very very high temperature, over 1,200 degrees for 8 hours in a vacuum, which
Wow.
really and it's not. Now, I thought that hardwoods were what you should use for this. And I tried to make my own. It didn't work. I wound up getting charcoal dust in my eyes, and I was,
Oh,
I was in pain for a month. But yeah, it was bad. But I didn't know. But a softwood has more macro pores, which brings everything in. It's a much better char.
so we
So
don't want to we
because of
don't
that,
want you to give away all your secrets because your product your product is your product.
yeah.
But that's interesting about the wood. I don't understand all the chemical or the how you make it stuff. And again, we don't want you to share your secrets. But why does the heating element matter? I mean, like, why does
Well,
it matter so much?
well, the heating element matters for a few reasons. I'm not really sure about all of them, but one thing I am sure of, you cannot have any tar or resin in the wood. That has to be burnt out. And
Ah,
that's what the very, very high temperature does.
Okay.
It burns it right out. So, and you were saying something about the chemical reactions. There are chemical reactions, and that has to do with the charge on the char and all that. But I
the
again,
science,
that's
we don't care about the science. We just want it to work. Right. Okay.
yeah,
And
yeah.
this might be too sciencey too, but when you were talking, I just wanted to know, you mentioned probiotics, like how it creates, can you dive into that any further, or is that too sciencey?
No, I mean, aerobic bacteria is a probiotic,
Okay.
and whatever this is producing, the bacteria is producing. I've actually added bacteria as well uh, to a tank, and it was a big bacterial bloom. And I mean, you couldn't even see the fish; it was so cloudy. It was
Mm-hmm.
just a cloudy tank. I couldn't see anything. And then when we finally hooked it up, put it online with the other tanks, it cleared up, and I was just in awe. I was amazed at how beautiful, how bright, how healthy the fish were when I could actually see them. It was really,
I
really
actually
cool.
I actually can vouch for that. I have talked on this stream before. Every time I get new seahorses, I go overboard trying to clean the tank and I scrub rocks and I'm stupid. I know in my head, don't kill everything. Don't make it too clean and sterile because you're going to end up with
Yeah.
a bacterial bloom. And of course I did when I got Vincent's seahorses, who are now courting for me, guys. Woo woo. But
Yay.
my point is, the char chamber, when I added that, whoo, all of a sudden it was clear, like in a day when it usually takes 3 to 5. I mean, I can vouch for
Yeah.
that part. And you were talking earlier about using only the chamber, the Robert King chamber, in your fry tanks. And Vincent has literally come to this show, come to our community, the Seahorse community, and proven to us like that's all he uses, right, Vincent?
Yeah, that's all I use. And because the one thing I wanted to add, to me, when you first put the char chamber in, sure, it cleans the water. I mean, it's spotless and it looks good. But the real benefit is over time, I've never used K1 or anything like that, but the load that char can take biologically to handle everything. I'm like Robert. I use the ammonia alerts,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I judge my tanks. But the water changes have cut down. I mean, I just after using it and seeing how it was working, I didn't have that worry about it. Like, well, I got to do it today. I can't take a chance. I never felt that way anymore. I could let it go longer and then do whatever I needed to do as far as water changes, clean the glass. But
I would say for anybody watching, just keep in mind they are using ammonia readers, like the kind that you stick on your tank where you can see if there's ammonia, or testing constantly. I'm not advising anyone to just throw things in a tank and expect it to work. It's amazing that this does work, but as a channel, we're not like saying do that, right? So just wanted to make that clear. But and the new char, Robert, you mentioned about using softwood to create it, the heat process, and so it's like, can you like dive a little bit more into the differences you've seen? Like, I mean, is it extravagant differences? And you said you don't have to replace it, but you should. Can you just kind of give us more on that?
Well, you don't ever have to replace it. You have to, I guess, when it starts to break down, you can add more. Basically what you should do. You don't have to replace it. It's a biological super filter at that point. I gave a filter to a friend of mine, and he told me a story. He had to go away for 3 days. So he had the char chamber in the tank, and he had an auto feeder set up, and the auto feeder dumped all 3 days worth of food in the tank at once. The day he left, an hour after he got on his plane, that happened. And he didn't know what to do. He was beside himself. And he came home, and the pile of food on the bottom was just about all broken down, and all the fish were alive and healthy. I'm sure many of you have had auto feeders malfunction, and it can be devastating. I've seen people lose, hundreds of fish that way. But with the char, it didn't happen. So now the thing I'm noticing with the new char is the balance of pH is better. The nitrate reduction is better. The phosphate reduction as well.
So
it's better.
as a non-sciencey person, I'm not asking for a scientific answer, but when people talk about this kind of thing, it reduces nitrates, phosphates, etc. What I am is a macro person, right? The way I've usually dealt with stuff like that is using algae. So to me, with macros, the key to using macros for filtration is you have to harvest, you have to remove, you have to keep, because the macro stuff, and then you have to remove it to get it out of the tank, or it's still sitting in the tank. It's not hurting anything, but it's still sitting there, and eventually the macros won't be able to handle it. But you're saying with this new char, you don't have to worry about that? I mean, that's amazing. Like, how?
Yeah, see, I don't get how that
You
works.
don't
And
know how.
also, macro algae actually grows real well with the char chamber in the tank.
And that's interesting. If it's for nitrate and phosphate for macros to grow well, that's like, wow. How?
And again, that was the old char. I'll see with the new char as well. I need to get some macro and see what it does with the new char.
Well, I would think that if you had dissolved organics in the water,
Right.
the macro is going to take that up because it's in the water column, because it's going to be in the water column before it's absorbed in any other way. And
Right.
and so
Yes.
they can go side by side. I don't see a problem with that. I mean, I think that would.
No, I agree with you. I was only asking because a lot of time, well, and I'm thinking back to my reef tank. I'm not thinking seahorse tanks, but in my reef tanks, where there were organisms that needed phosphate and such, if I was using something like Chemipure or whatever to remove phosphates, then I had to be careful with macros because the macros wouldn't grow because I removed too much phosphate, which this
Right.
product is not a phosphate remover. This is more a biological media that just has the added benefit of removing phosphate and nitrate, right? I mean, that's what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to say hi, David. There's someone else that has some of my seahorses that are here tonight.
Oh, hi, David.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
One thing is that
Very
I've
cool.
been experimenting with the aquachar also, and I think the biggest single thing is other than doing water changes, I never have to clean the tank. I have no algae, I have no bryopsis or anything else in the tanks. And keep in mind, I sometimes have 40 or 50 3-inch seahorses in a 58-gallon tank that I'm working with. And it's the same thing in my nurseries. I'm used to having to, and I run the circular nurseries to get the circular flow, which are partially self-cleaning. But again, with the aquachar, it's a whole different, it makes my life a lot easier.
Well, and to be clear, it's the
Glad you like it.
CharChamber. It's and Cheryl, I know Robert does want to ask you about the changes you made to your CharChamber when you got it, and we'll get into that. But David, I did see you say it's a small world. Your fiance and you bought 2 of Vince's seahorses, and they're popping out fry. I would so flip you off right now if I could. Because I still don't have fry. And they're courting, and I'm glad. I think that my original male, not from Vince, is just a bully. That's what I think. I think he bullies them all. I've noticed him chasing them all and trying to keep the women separate. And I think he's just a bully. He might have to get out of the tank. But congratulations to you. That's amazing. I love my Vincent seahorses too. I haven't gotten enough comments on my posts. I need names for them. But back to the CharChamber. Sorry, I mean the Robert King CharChamber. And Cheryl, what he was saying is he has experimented and done a lot of research and done his own stuff to make new char. So we now have to test out his new char. And I think the main point was that the chamber was what was doing, helping everything come together because of the air, right, Robert? Is that correct?
The air and it brings the food right up to the bacteria.
Yep.
It brings food and air, the 2 things bacteria need to thrive, and it does thrive.
I did wonder, you said you don't have to replace either the old or the new char. However, how often do you advise people to clean the sponge?
I'm sorry, say that again. Oh, the sponge?
Yeah, do you clean it?
You know, when I take a CharChamber out, if I mess around with it at all and clean the sponge, which I normally don't, when I squeeze the sponge, black water comes out. So it's char dust that's going into the sponge. So it doesn't really ever clog. And I noticed that, I told you about the guy who had 3 days worth of food dumped in his tank. The bacteria was already consuming that food. Now, when I see in my larval tanks, when the bottom gets dirty, you have to scrape it up. When you scrape it with a scraper, it's like a clumpy, sticky mess.
Mm-hmm.
With the CharChamber, it never gets sticky. It never clumps up because it's constantly being broken down. It's being broken down as it comes out as waste, and it's being broken down in the fish's digestive system as well. So the waste that comes out isn't as wasteful. Most of it's being utilized by the fish.
Yes.
Nice. And we're gonna at some point jump into how this has affected our seahorse tanks, because every person in this chat right now has a CharChamber in their seahorse tank, a Robert King CharChamber. Sorry, I keep forgetting to say that part. But I was gonna say we all have had different experiences and all are positive. we will jump into that. Holly and I have had some similar experiences. And MG, I just want to say I do see your questions. I'm going to go into that in a second. But Zen Ginger, can the char chambers be used in fresh water? Or is it somehow triggered in the saltwater marine environment? And how would it respond to plant fertilizers?
Char chambers in freshwater are amazing. They're I gave one to a guy at FedEx. it was his birthday. I said, "Hey, try this out." I knew he was a big freshwater guy, and he was just amazed. And he was so grateful. Thank you so much. And he put it in his tank, and he said, "My tank has never been that clear. Has never been that clean, and my fish seem so much more active." I'm like, "Wow, that's awesome." So it works in freshwater too, and I have tested it in cichlid tanks as well. It works great in freshwater.
Yeah.
Yeah, better than I expected. So
To answer, but her thing on the where is that question now?
About the fertilizers.
Oh, about the fertilizer. In the beginning, and tell me, I think Robert probably agree. In the beginning, if you put it in and you got fertilizer in there, it's going to absorb it.
Yeah.
It's going to absorb it, but it's going to get to a point where it's no longer going to absorb it because it's not going to have that absorbent power, and it's going to be a biological. And then I think it would become balanced.
And for anybody who's not sciencey or whatnot, to me, like when I think of it, that's the chemical versus biological. Chemical I'm probably using in the wrong way, the wrong term, but to chemical to me is like charcoal that sucks something up. So it's sucking stuff up to begin with, but at some point it stops sucking up, and instead of leaching it back out like regular charcoal, it becomes biological media and stores it and uses it and grows and becomes better.
Yeah, because that's the reason that your water gets clear in the beginning, is because it's working just like it's supposed to work. And then I haven't changed. I don't know how long I've had my char chambers. I don't know if Robert does. It's been quite a while. I have not changed the char. I put them in, and that's it. I don't change it. Maybe 2 or 3 times I've taken the sponge, put it in a bucket with salt water,
Swished it.
Well, I squeeze it, clean it out, and then just stick it back in. But I've never opened it up, put more char or nothing.
Well, that's Holly and I have talked on recent episodes about, we never changed the char. Whoops, and everything's fine. But I did notice now that I have, guys, I do not advise this again, but I currently have 5 seahorses in a 40-gallon all-in-one because I'm trying to determine who will breed with each other, and then I'm going to split them up into different tanks, right? But in the meantime, when I added the new seahorses, I did get kind of cloudy water. Stuff started going kind of wanky, and I just did replace a little bit of the char in the chamber, and all of a sudden it was perfect, like overnight. It was pretty amazing. And MG wanted to know about a month ago. She lost a seahorse. When I posted asking for help, Ray said it was because of tank quality. She had a char chamber, so why didn't that help? Is basic. I'm not showing the comments right, but Robert, one of your chambers can't fix, like if there's a parasitic or a bacterial issue within the seahorse, that's not going to fix that, right?
I'm not really sure. I would hope that it does, but I don't know. I can't say, it's going to fix everything, because, again, they are much more disease resistant when using a char chamber. But again, it's not a cure-all. I use it in quarantine tanks, and it works great. But I am so sorry you lost your seahorse. That's terrible. Char chambers.
Unfortunately, with seahorses, one of the things that happens is they can become very ill, and everybody thinks it happens very fast. But if you backtrack through it, a lot of times it'll be going on for several months. So by the time the keeper realizes they've got a problem, the seahorse is probably very close to death already. And
I will say, Mary, that Ray's answer to anyone with a problem is always, it's your water quality. So let's, and I know that we've talked to you before, let's dive deeper into what's going on. Definitely wouldn't blame the Char Chamber for not, or the Robert King Chamber for not fixing everything, but I definitely think it's helping, right? So it's making your water quality better, and whatever's going on, we just got to dive into that and fix it, is my thoughts on that. But what questions do you guys have for Robert? I have a few more, but I want to give someone else a chance to talk.
Oh, so
Holly?
I was wondering, so when you sent me my new chambers, Robert, there was a little extra bag. So is that the new char and the original char is in the ones? Okay, perfect. Because I
Yes.
haven't tried
Yes.
it yet. I'm saving it for my change out because the way I've done it is I do change it every 6 months. I change out half is what I've been doing.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll try it
That's-
with the new and just leave it alone. Do you think that's it? That's a good thing to try and see how it goes and not change out the new char and see how it goes?
Well, that's again, that's like a personal preference type thing. I mean, you can, or you don't have to. You know, it's like it's either or. I mean, you can if you want to. You don't have to.
Yeah,
I
I'm just
think the way, I
wondering
think
if
the
you
way,
said, like, if you've left yours and haven't changed it, you said, I might want to try that with one of them and see.
I think what I'm going to do from here on out is I am going to not change it until I need to, right? Like if the water, if I see algae, then maybe I'll replace a little bit. Or if, whatever, but leave it working as a biological filter until whatever. I skip a few water changes and I've got a cloud or I've got some algae. Then I might add more to suck it in. Does that
But
sound?
Yeah.
But if you have
And,
enough,
and again,
go ahead, Robert.
yeah, and again, I'm still doing testing, so I'm not really sure. I mean, like I said with my with Fish Room North, I had an algae problem. The glass was getting green a lot, and my sister was getting tired of scraping it. And I put the new char in there, and that green is going away. It's been 2 days, and you can see a noticeable difference. I believe by day 3, that'll be gone. But I can't say if the same thing wouldn't have happened if I used the old char and just replenished it. Just put new old char, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
In the tank. I can't tell. I don't know if that would have had the same effect. So I can't really say for sure. But again, I am still doing a lot of testing. I'm going to be doing some ICP testing at the end of the month, and I'll know more then. What's going on with the char? This stuff
Well,
is
there
incredible.
we go. That just means we have to have you back again, which we want you back every week, but we have to have you back. And I would say that either way, what's been proven by those of us that have tried the char chamber, sorry, is that
That's okay.
the chamber is kind of the key, right? And he's trying to put char, which we want him to do so we can, really perfect the tank. But the chamber is kind of the key to all of it, right? I mean, of course, when you get your specialized char, that's going to be amazing. But we've all seen the benefits, period, just from the chamber. So,
yeah. This is the newer model here.
let me
Now
show you.
there's no char. There's no char up in here yet. But this is full char. Now this is for a 150-gallon tank. Each chamber holds 75 gallons worth of char. Now what you'll do is you'll run it. Let me see if I can take it apart without making it too big of a mess. Oh, yep, it's starting to fall out. That's okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's all right. All right, there you go. So you take that apart. Well, this is where you start out. You start out with just this. This is it's a big chamber. It's much bigger than. I'll show you the difference real quick. Much bigger than that one.
Yeah.
This one is 10 to 30 gallons. This one is 50 to 75 right here. And what you do is you don't want to put the whole 150 gallons worth of char in a 150-gallon tank right away. You want to do it gradually. So you do half, and then after a week or two, you'll see a difference. You'll see a big difference in your water quality with just this in a 150-gallon tank. So what you do is you do this for 2 weeks, and then you just take this and you put it on. and then you take your new char and you dump it in there, pack it down a little bit, and then you put the top back on.
Why do you
And
want to
there
wait
you
2
have it.
weeks? Why do you need to wait? Is it just too much of a
You don't.
shock to the system?
Yeah, you don't want to change anything too fast in a small
Okay.
ecosystem like that. Just you
Got
want
it.
to do it gradually. I have seen some adverse, effects with putting too much in at one shot. So
Well, and we probably wouldn't see in a Seahorse tank, but like in a reef tank, I get what you're saying because
right,
taking out too
right,
much of the, yeah. Okay.
yeah,
And
it's just
Zen wants, oh, sorry, go ahead.
it's just
Go ahead.
better, to do it gradually. With a 10-gallon tank, I throw my char chamber, which is capable of doing 30 gallons, and I just throw the char chamber right in there, and I don't see a problem. It's a fish only 10-gallon baby tank, though, mind you, little babies. And I don't see a problem with that, So it's probably just like reef tanks. You want to be extra careful. That's all.
Sure. And we've seen Vincent's huge, not baby, adolescents, tons of them in a tank only run by your chambers. So
Yeah, 40
we know it
gallons.
works. Yep.
Nice.
And
Nice.
Zen wanted to know, do you need to remove the char chamber if you medicate? Like you would with activated carbon? Or since it's different chemically, would it matter? Do you leave it? Replace it? What do you do?
That's something else that I still have to do some testing on. I have medicated with the char chamber in there, and I mean it was a quarantine tank, so metronidazole and I just do that automatically in a quarantine situation. So I don't know if the char chamber took that out. The fish were fine, but they may have not needed the metronidazole. So I don't know. Again, I have to do some more testing on that one, just to see. But I would take it out. If you're going to medicate, take it out.
Sure.
And then as
Yeah.
soon as you do your, so you wouldn't have to do a water change to remove it, like you normally do when you're medicating. You normally do a water change after you medicate. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
you
Go
might not
ahead.
have
So
to do that.
because that was my question. So if you medicate a tank, and I know you probably don't have an answer yet. I'm sorry to keep springing these questions on you, and you're like, hang on, I got to
No.
test. But if you medicate the tank, say, and then you're done medicating, you do your water change, but we all know there's probably still some medication in the tank, unless it's the type that dissipates, which some do. But if you stick the chamber in and the char sucks it up, is that I'm just thinking when I used fenbendazole in a tank, I could not add my gorgonians back until I truly made sure that medication was out of the tank because it would have affected the gorgonians. So is there, or are you going to test and figure that out soon? You probably don't have an answer yet. Sorry.
I am going to. Yes, I am. I am going to test that because I want to know. What the best way is. Like I said, and Cheryl's the same way. You take something that's really good and perfect, and you try to make it better. I could tell Cheryl's that same way, and that's what I do. And I want to keep testing and test different scenarios, as many as I possibly can, to make sure that when I speak about it, I know what I'm saying. So
well, you're doing a fantastic job so far, and we're so glad that you created this. We Seahorse community love the char chamber, the Robert King
Awesome.
char chamber. Sorry, and I can't
okay.
wait to test out your new char. And I know you want to know some of the improvements that Cheryl kind of worked on, but I did want to mention Tyann said she has a clownfish hatch tank. The babies hatched in that tank 10 months ago and are still there, never cleaned the sponge, never added more char, have not done a water change ever.
Wow.
That's freaking pretty amazing.
It depends on your type of filtration.
Right, there she is.
The thing is, the biggest problem, my concern with using a char chamber and adding antibiotics is basically you're going to kill off you're killing off all the good bacteria and anything that's bad bacteria. And this is a bacterial reaction, in essence, with the aqua char.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, you could potentially create a bigger problem for yourself if you try treating with the aqua char chamber in the same tank.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Robert King chamber, Cheryl. But
I could be wrong.
so what I know that Robert wanted to know, because I know when your Robert King chamber, you did some different things with it. What did you do? How did you change things?
Well, I didn't do a lot of changing. Basically, what I did is I have the big one was the first one, and I put the two pieces together, and I need to fill the upper chamber again on it. The lower chamber is fine, but the upper chamber, I had a little too much air going through it. Guilty.
It happens.
I figured that out. So I'm at the point where I'm not experimenting with it like I was at the beginning.
Real quick, why does it matter how much air goes through it? And like the lengths of, like you showed us, Robert, you showed us the littler one, and then the bigger one had more space for char. But I mean, what is the length of the sections and the air going through it? Why does that matter, and how would you perfect it? Like if someone new gets one.
The more reaction time the water has with the char, the better. So you want to keep it running slow. It won't tumble the char and break it down. Now, and Cheryl, I'm sorry you have one of the older ones, but if you notice here, I have this tube coming out the side instead of straight up. Instead of straight up through the top. Straight up through the top was a pain in the butt when you were trying to add more char. You had to take this apart.
Yes.
And you had to put a piece of rubber hose and then another piece of rigid tubing. It was a real pain. This way, you don't have to mess with it. It's done.
It looks like a skimmer.
Tube. Okay, that's an easy.
The tube is not in your way. So little modifications. This is the CharChamber model 0000000014. So we're getting there. We're getting there. I leave a lot of zeros for improvements.
Well, all that takes is a little bit of PVC tubing, a little bit of a drill, and some airline, and and it's done.
And some bending. You can bend that rigid tubing with hot water, or you can bend it with a heat gun, however you need to.
Oh yeah, that's an easy fix. I'm good at taking things apart and breaking them, and finding a way to make them work.
And rebuilding, Let's see, who else we have? I feed my black Darwin.
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to read comments too.
Oh,
I'm
no,
not
that's
doing a very good job of it.
No, it's very small. Like my eyes are bad. Let's see. Main replacement.
I'm trying to look through the questions too, and I had a few more. But you go ahead, Robert.
No, I was just reading this. He feeds his black Darwin pair 5 times a day in a 13.5 gallon, and rarely changes water, mainly to replace minerals for the corals. The CharChamber works wonders on my little guys. Very cool. And so I love reading that. Yeah, reading things like that.
Absolutely. And I wanted to ask Holly, can you share a little bit about how things have changed since you got the CharChamber?
Oh yeah, no, my first one I put in the display tank, and it was on water change day. And I noticed right away that the water became crystal clear pretty fast. And the way when I do my water changes, I mix the salt in the RODI water not very long before I do the change. So it starts out kind of cloudy from the salt always. And it processed the salt very quickly. It was one of the first things I noticed. So it's somehow pulling things through faster than just all my other stuff was. And then the water was just crystal clear, compared to what it normally was. And my water's normally pretty clean looking ordinarily. It's not cloudy. I didn't know it could get that clear. So there was that. And then the seahorses in that tank started investigating it, and they learned to love it. They want to hang out with it. And when I have a pair in there, I have 4 seahorses in that tank, and there's a pair that courts regularly, and they like to do it above the char chamber, around the char chamber. They like to hang out with it. And then today in my other tank where I just put the new chambers you sent me, they haven't really figured it out. I added a lot of new stuff at once in there. I gave them a great big reef to explore and put the chambers in. And they hadn't really discovered the chambers per se. But today, when I was doing the water change, one of my little girls went to the chamber and was clinging to it for comfort during the water change.
I was
They
gonna
like-
say,
I think
no,
she'll
I was.
be out with it more, but I've noticed that sometimes in the display tank, I think if they're not feeling right for whatever reason is going on, they'll go and cling to the chamber. So I think it does help them somehow.
They
Feel
My
Feel
like
secure.
seahorses, can I just tell you, and I've told everybody on past episodes too, and I've shown videos, and I should post them more. My seahorses fight over on hitch to the top of the char chamber, and I have the old version, right, with the the rigid airline right there. So it's connected to softer airline that goes outside,
They cling
and
to it.
they fight to get to sleep where the bubbles are hitting their butoxes, and yeah, they love that thing. And I don't know if it's like
Yeah.
just like cleaner water coming out or the bubbles or what, but it's
It
like
must
benefit,
be.
benefit,
I
benefit.
sent you 2 pictures a little bit ago to your private. I shared my little girl today when I was cleaning the tank. I took some pictures of her because, yeah, she was just clinging on it
Here we go. Let me show it real
on the
quick.
sponge.
yeah. The thing is, seahorses love bubble massages.
Ah,
They do.
Yeah, and males will actually get in the flow of the bubbles and move back and forth and massage their pouch like that. It's hysterical to watch.
Oh, there we go.
see my
Yeah, so
seahorses.
she was
My
just clinging
seahorses.
to
Oh, go
it
ahead.
while I was cleaning the tank and had her face right against it.
It was her teddy bear. But my
Yep.
seahorses actually, like, I don't have a picture ready. I'm sorry.
They
But
sit
my
on the top.
seahorses fight to hitch
Mhm.
up here where the bubbles are
Yep.
hitting them. They love sitting there, sleeping
That's
there.
cool.
They just love it.
Now she
But
was doing that earlier. I didn't get a picture, but that's how she discovered it. Because like I said, I have a lot of newer stuff in the tank and they're kind of exploring and figuring out the new stuff. And that was the first time I saw one go to the chamber and she was playing in the bubbles for a while
Mhm.
because I was pulling out the other stuff in the tank, to go to the bleach bucket. So she's like, where am I going to go? Oh, look at, there's this. And she was having a good time over there. And then I went and got the camera. And by that time, she was clinging to the sponge part because I think one thing I think they've noticed too, that those don't go to the bleach bucket. They stay in the tank.
Yep. And Zen Ginger
That's
wanted
awesome.
to know what is the best way to get one of these magical char chambers. And I want to tell you, just for the record, this isn't like a huge Wine Wednesday long ad. We're actually using these in our tanks,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I would never lie and say some product that I'm not actually using and that I don't actually recommend. This actually works. It's working for me. So, and it's working for the rest of us. And it's just with seahorses, organics is such a big deal.
Yeah.
And biological media is such a big deal that, I mean, I'm not like Vincent. Vincent uses only char chambers, and you can look at his tanks and be like, oh my gosh, wow. I'm a chicken pooper, and I personally use K1 too,
Same here.
and I have rock. But adding the chamber, the Robert King chamber, the clarity, because I'm trying to prove that people can keep seahorses in a smaller tank long term,
Mhm.
and I was already struggling because I put too many seahorses in, and I don't like. I'm lazy. I don't like doing water changes. So this has helped me
I'll
tremendously.
I'll agree. As far as like today when I did my water change, we're just coming out of a big blizzard here where I am. In Northern California, we just had more snow than I've ever seen here. And I had power on and off for the last like 4 days up until like yesterday.
Right?
So today
Oh
was
boy.
water change day and I'm wore out. And
Yeah.
so I'm cleaning the tanks though, and normally what I do every time is I wipe down all the sides and the floor of what I call the tiki tank, because it's bare
Yep.
bottom, it's all artificial decor in there. Well, today I noticed I wiped down the front and I didn't have hardly any algae on the sponge.
Yep.
And I said,
Okay.
I'm not even going to
Awesome.
do the rest. And so I skipped it all. The tank looks clean. It look
Right.
Is this
it
the one
looks
you've always had
it
problems
looks
with?
crystal clean.
Robert.
I'm like, it'll be okay. So I just did that one, the front window, and that was it.
Nice.
And so
Ro-
it saved me some time for sure.
Yep, Robert. So to answer Zen's question, I think that Tyann, thank you, Tyann, answered in
Yeah.
the comments, but just for the live, if someone watches later, how do you get one of these?
Yeah. Well, follow Robert King's Clownfish, and you can send me a message right on Robert King's Clownfish, or you can just find me, Robert King, on Facebook, and just send me a message. That's perfect. Or you go to zombieclownfish.com, and I think I had my the person that made my page. I had her put my email that I can actually check on the zombieclownfish.com, so you can email me through that as well. And yeah, we'll get them right out to you. So I can't wait. I'm seeing a lot of great testimonials here.
And I
People that
I
have
know.
the
on
CharChambers.
Messenger, I messaged you. I remember when I was ready to get the ones for this tank, and Robert messaged me back real quick
Right
within like
away.
an hour or so. He was like, "Yeah, I can help you out." So yeah, that's
Kevin, who is one of our favorites on this channel, we love you, Kevin. Kevin sent me my char chamber, by the way.
Yep.
But he said
Yeah.
I will be starting testing next week on two 13.5 gallon tanks that have been running for 2.5 years. Both will get new char chambers and will be charting the results. Dude, I am still totally going to test the fry tanks. I just need the damn fry.
I need one for the
I
freshwater tank
oh my
now.
gosh.
My
Yeah,
freshwater
well,
tank really needs one.
I just need the dang fry. And now that I have sorry, my hair's crazy. Now that I have Vincent's seahorses and they're flirting, I feel that I'll have fry soon.
Nice.
But in the meantime, I still intend to do the testing, and I'm glad that you're doing the testing because we need all these results to like prove
Yes.
everything. But yeah, I'm gonna do it in the fry tanks.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Kevin's
Oh, I
my
thought
guy.
so.
He's doing the testing. Yeah. He's the one I was telling you, doing 2 identical tanks with the identical fish and identical feedings and 2 pH probes. He's going to be doing the testing. So
I just got to
I'm
get
very happy
Kevin to
about
get
that.
some seahorses.
Yeah, when I made the CharChambers, the first thing I thought was, man, I could do seahorses again. That was the first thing I thought. Yeah. So I would
Nice.
love to. I love
And
seahorses.
Go
My
ahead.
hippocampus
Sorry.
erectus were beautiful, and they spawned regularly.
Oh yeah, like every 2 weeks if you're not careful.
Yep.
They keep throwing it in my face, you guys. They're throwing
Hey,
it in
why
my
not having
face.
fry either? I'm okay with that though.
Mm,
I didn't have a
I
CharChamber,
am
so it didn't
not.
live long.
When you get to the point that you're threatening to separate your males from females, but you know it's not going to work because then the females will develop pouches. So
Yeah, you're screwed.
you're still
Yeah.
stuck.
Robert, I did want to know because you asked us on a previous Wine Wednesday and you kind of hinted to it this time. what's going on with your ideas? I know you don't have proof yet, but your ideas about the Robert King Chamber helping fish eat and might stimulate appetite. What are your ideas? What's that? What's it about?
I'm sorry, helping what? I didn't hear what you said.
Helping them eat fish.
Yeah, you
Helping them
asked us
eat.
if you notice a better appetite in our
Oh
seahorses
yeah.
since we and seahorses are such pigs, it's really hard to tell. So we want to know why you asked that question. Are you seeing that? What's going on?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am, and this is very interesting for anyone who's ever bred clownfish before. They know um, that there is a morph stage. It's metamorphosis where they go from larva to fry. It's very stressful time for them, and there's a lot of mortality during that period because they get very lethargic for 2 or 3 days and they won't eat. So if they don't have big round fat bellies before that time happens, that's when you have a lot of die off. With the char chamber, I was really scratching my head on this one, but I always notice when they go into the morph stage, because they just float. They just float there. They don't move around at all. They can't afford to burn any energy while they're going through this change. With the char chamber, I don't see the morph anymore. I don't see the lethargic stage anymore. I do see the morph. Within 5-6 days, they're getting head stripes, which is unheard of, and they just ravenously eating the whole time. They don't slow down at all. So that's pretty incredible. And
Why do
yeah,
you think that is?
because of the bacteria, because of the
And
the
clean water.
probiotic
Yeah.
effect, and their ability to break down the food. Now, larval clownfish also they're missing an enzyme in their digestive system that breaks down food. That's why it's so important that their first food be rotifers, because rotifers have the enzyme that they need to break down food. So actually, the rotifers break themselves down. Had they known that, they might have made a different choice, through evolution, not to have that enzyme.
Right,
But
right. No, we talk about that with seahorses all the time too. The first foods, how important the what they need. Go on. Sorry.
yeah, so with the char chamber, they don't stop eating at all. They just keep going. They don't slow down one
And
bit.
and so guys, anybody with a seahorse tank with a chamber, Robert King chamber, we need to kind of pay attention. Our seahorses are pigs, but we need to pay
Yeah,
attention to how they're eating, if they're eating more, what's going on there, because we want to give feedback. And MG
yeah,
said, "Can I spread out my water change days?" I like Absolute Zero's answer,
Yeah.
which was let your tank speak to you. If you're exhausted and your tanks look good, it can go an extra few days. Your fish will tell you. My phrase, I'm going to do a t-shirt with it. Learn your seahorses, man. Learn them. Once you get to know them, or your fish or your reef or whatever, once you understand, do your work till you know them, then you can kind of play with not doing them.
I'll
And yes, we're
tell
talking
you,
about
I'm
this
religious about
chamber,
those.
but the Robert King chamber helps in every way with the aquarium, whether it be seahorses, reef, clownfish, doesn't matter. It's helping with water quality. It's working as a biofilter. It's amazing, but still do your due diligence until you know your seahorses is my
yeah,
2 cents.
And my thing is, I'm really religious on my water changes always because I'm always vacuuming stuff out of the tank. And dissolved organics is the biggest enemy of seahorses. I think it causes probably 95% the
Yep.
problems we have with seahorses. I've really haven't had any problems with them other than problems that were caused by organics, the
Yep.
bacterial infections and things.
mm,
So I'm extra careful. I mean, I added the chambers, everything's great, they work great, but I think of them as an add-on, not as a replacement for what I was already doing.
Truth. But Vincent, you just used char
Yeah.
chambers. Robert King char
Well, I
chambers.
think the absolute zone hit it right. Is over the years you learn to read your tank, your behaviors of your fish, and that's just something that over time you acquire it, and so you get more familiar to where you can look at your tank and kind of tell if something's off, or you can look at your fish. I mean, it's just an observation. I think he answered, or whoever Absolute Zero is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the perfect answer to that question.
Mm-hmm.
We love you, Absolute Zero. And Absolute
Mhm.
Zero also said, my Darwin pair from Robert King was eating an hour after they left their bag in a brand new tank with a char chamber. His products work and quality is amazing. I'll tell you, when I got Vincent's Seahorses, I don't know who to credit, Vincent
Yeah,
or
I'll
Robert.
take the
But
credit.
I can tell you, that they were trying to eat in the bag. They were like, I have videos. They're like, yeah, I want food. I want these other seeds. And
Vincent, you
they
need to
did
feed them
perfectly.
more.
Oh, yeah. They had just gotten
kidding.
to me.
Yeah,
But, and Tyann did say, if anyone runs a rotifer bucket, the RKC chamber works great in them. See, and that's,
I bet.
if I ever do get fry going on in this house again, I'm gonna have to do some cultures, and that's the other thing I want to test the chambers on, because I do believe that it's the structure and the mechanism that you've used to create this product, Robert. It's the airflow, it's the sponge, it's everything just works together. The char is a major component, and I'm glad you've come up with your own, but the chamber is really where I see the most benefit. Obviously you need the char to be perfect too, but the chamber is what's really like we a lot of us Seahorse keepers use K1, and it's a tumbling mechanism. And I can't tell you how many times I've bought cheap airline or cheap what's the air pusher? I can't think of the
Oh.
word.
Air
Wine,
stones,
guys.
the air stones, or the air pumps. Yeah.
The thing that air pumps, that's it. I've bought cheap air pumps and they stop working, and then the K1 stops tumbling, and then it's literally just like sitting rock. But since it's not tumbling anymore, detritus builds up and it gets, I mean, like in a day or two, you just can't let it stop tumbling.
Yeah.
So if you do K1, buy a good air pump. But my point is, it's so nice to have something that the air is going through it, it's pushing and creating the bacteria and making sure that it gets fed. It's just a really great product. I love it myself.
Thank
I
you.
have
I
a
was
question though about, like, since Tyann brought up the rotifers, I was wondering about things like the rotifers and copepods and brine shrimp, like if you have them in those kind of setups. Because one thing I did notice when I was raising the seahorse fry was that the baby brine shrimp would get stuck to the sponge filter.
Oh, good question.
So does that happen, or is there a way to avoid that?
run it at a very low speed.
Which you
Just,
want
just,
to anyways, right?
just a
Because you
couple
want
bubbles coming out
more.
the top. Yeah. Yeah. Tyann ran that char chamber in a rotifer bucket for 21 weeks. No,
Wow.
no water changes, no ammonia binder.
Wow.
And when I say no water changes, I mean she took rotifers out with the sieve and just let the water drain back into the bucket.
Yeah.
And
So you just have it
21
barely
weeks.
bubbling then.
well,
Yeah,
I tell you, if
barely
you
bubbling.
did 21
Yep.
days without, I remember the chore of doing the rotifers, and I would always, man, I think it was almost every day I would split half the water and
Yeah.
redo it so I wouldn't have a
Yeah.
crash.
Yeah.
So
I used
do
to
you
I used
guys
to do
have
1
an
gallon.
example of, like, can you show a video or show in one of your tanks what the correct bubbling action is on those? Yeah.
It's kind of
Actually,
hard to
that would
say.
be. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, my lights are out right now. But it's kind of hard to say. You know, it's probably gonna come out of one hole, 1 or 2 holes, and you just turn your air until it's a continuous flow. You know, just continuous. Like it'll come on, it might stop, and it'll come back on, and that's fine too. But if you want a little more, you can tweak it a little. Just tweak it a little bit. You can have a little more so the bubbles come
I
out
have
steadily.
a hard time adjusting mine between lots and none.
Right. I'm gonna real quick. I'm gonna go take. Oh, we have to get going. It's 9:30. I've kept you guys all too long, and we have to do the giveaway. I know, but I'm gonna go
I'm
take
ready
a
for that.
quick 10-second I know you are.
Yeah,
we get
whatever.
Robert in here. We want to keep him all night, but I know you guys have lives. So I'm going to real quick take a 10-second video of mine just so you can tell me if mine's proper. And
All right.
I would say, I mean, the longer, as you said, the longer that the char has with the oxygen, with it going through, is the better,
The contact
right?
time.
So,
Yes.
okay.
The reaction time.
Reaction
All right,
time.
you guys
Yes.
talk for 10 seconds. I'm going to get a video.
One
right.
more quick thing that I found really interesting. Some of the testing that has been done on this char, this particular char, is they had a tank full of water. And mercury, very high concentration of mercury, and they put the char in the tank. It absorbed all the mercury, and then they took that char and they put it into another tank, and none of it leached out. Don't ask me
Really?
how that's even possible, but that's one of the so heavy metals, yeah, not a problem.
See, I
I
use
was thinking of
and I've been using it for years. But one of the things is you still have to take it apart, clean it periodically, and I run it both water and air in my K1 media reactors. A lot of people just run airborne.
Well, this is I call this my mechanical biological self-cleaning super filter.
Yeah.
It's just incredible, and I'm loving all the comments that are coming through. There we go. Did you hear about the mercury?
I need to put up I'm sorry, I'm not putting up the comments. I'm so sorry. What?
That's okay. Did you hear about the mercury?
What about the mercury?
They tested the char in a tank with a high concentration of mercury, and it absorbed all the mercury. And then they put the char in another tank, and it did not release any of it back into the water.
Oh, amazing!
It's like
amazing.
Yeah, I don't know how, but it does any heavy metals that you may have in your tank, lead, copper, anything like that. It will absorb it.
And besides when something usually absorbs metals or takes care of metals, because one of the concerns in my house is I have twin 16-year-old daughters, so they do have other crap. Would it help?
It would definitely help.
We don't know yet.
I don't know. It would help, but I don't know if it would.
They're forbidden from the fish room. They are forbidden, even when they're not spraying.
There you go. Yeah.
When they just have their hair poofy. But I just wondered because I've not had any problems because I've had a char chamber in. But I wanted to show this real quick. This is Vincent. What is this, Vincent?
Well, that's just the juveniles on a char chamber getting ready to crash.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that is a perfect picture. That's what mine look like, except for they fight over the spot closest. So they literally arm wrestle, tail wrestle, whatever. I guess they don't have arms. They tail wrestle, trying to get that perfect spot right on top of the chamber. And
that's great.
Let's see. I got to send my own video to me real quick, and then we can move forward. What else you guys wanted to say? Sorry if I interrupted. All right. Anything else you guys wanted to say while I'm trying to make this work?
Well, I think I'll put a char chamber inside my boat in the live well, and that way when I catch fish, I can eat them because it'll get all the junk out of them.
No mercury. Uh-oh.
Hey, that would work good in a live well.
Yeah.
That would work excellent.
Ooh, I got it.
Okay. So here's my question, Robert, real quick, because I did wonder about this. Wait, I'm trying to figure out which one to.
Yeah, I need to adjust my air. The thing is, I have a pump that's got 6 outlets of air. And when you adjust one, it affects the other.
Yep. Mine's the same way. Mine is connected to
both of mine, and it's really hard to hit the balance between not at all and a lot.
Well, so this is my char chamber in the 40-gallon one,
but it's hard.
But it's also connected to my K1.
Yeah,
so I have the same situation as Holly, where there's 6 outlets, right? So, but look, the char actually moves. Is that bad, Robert?
It's not bad. It's not bad. It will break down. It'll break down quicker
But you
like
don't
that.
want it.
But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, when you add more char to that, you just pack it in there really good with your thumbs. Push it down real
Pack it
good.
in tighter.
So if
Okay.
I
Yeah.
get mine to where just a few bubbles come out, like now and then, that's okay. It's better
So
than
not
leaving
like
a lot.
this. This is too much.
As far as I can see, yeah, it looks a
Yeah.
little heavy. Now, what you could do is you get a
Okay.
little you get a little airline valve, just the regular little valves, stick it right in your airline to have a second adjustment. Because I know the ones with the little
The metal turner thing. Yeah.
yeah, they're tough to adjust. So get a little airline.
And I have those. So yeah, make a cut and install that, and then it'll be easier to adjust. I
You
hear
can
you.
even leave them on
Yeah.
full flow and use part of the attachment to bleed off air if you want to get fancy with it. In other words, it gives you,
There you go.
yeah, it's much easier to get low bubbles if you just drain it off through another outlet, kind of.
Yes, and it
Okay.
doesn't stress out your pump.
Yeah.
Mm.
Absolute Zero said when you set up your chamber, put it off completely. Slowly turn it up as you watch your chamber. Small stream of bubbles coming up. So, I mean, mine's
Yes,
running
yeah, I
too
tried
fast,
that, but
and it
mine
still
has
works.
no in between. Yeah, it's like yours. It's like nothing, and then you turn the valve a little tiny bit more. Boom.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think I'm gonna try. I think I'll split it and put one of my little blue
Yeah,
twist valve
split it.
things in between, and then it'll be easier to adjust. I think.
And Absolute Zero also said the charcoal is really what makes this unique. I think it's the design, though. I think it's the chamber.
Thank you.
Like, I mean, and the thing is,
Combines it all.
you have this new unique char, right?
Mhm.
That you want us to add to the chamber. But
Yeah.
sincerely, like if I don't know how to say this nicely. If something happened to you tomorrow, God forbid, we never want that to happen. But I'm just saying, you could put any media in that, and it would work. I mean,
Yeah.
for the most part, we want it to work efficiently. We want the new char, but I think it's the chamber that really makes it work. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all. No, I've
Okay.
put denitrate and stuff like that in the chambers as well. Just to give it a shot. The char is the best media. I mean that I've used so far, and I've tried different things. It is like a media reactor in some respects, but no pump. You don't need a pump. Just an air pump. That's it.
Yeah.
And
I've
I
been,
wasn't saying it was like a media reactor. I'm saying it's better
Yeah.
because you don't need the pump. It
Right.
works in a Seahorse tank. You don't have anything to worry about. It just works. I mean, it's just, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I mean, and I've developed this as I go. I mean, I started out with just a piece of poly tubing glued to the top of a sponge filter and packed it full of char, put a little cap on it, and that was my first char chamber. And I've come a long way since then. I've noticed the air stone is a good addition. Finer bubbles are definitely better. I'm looking to get the wooden air stones. I just can't seem to find them. When I do, they're just super expensive.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
I keep trying different air stones to get the finest bubbles that I can. Because I know that.
So this is the
definitely.
thing Absolute Zero was talking about. This is the valve.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
make it
sure
Yes.
that you
Yep.
put it. So this will be, because I have
Yes.
a bunch of these. I have a whole baggie. I use them for other stuff. So yeah, I'll stick that in
Yes.
between, and then get a finer adjustment. Sounds like.
That's what I do.
Or like Cheryl said. Yeah, or like Cheryl said, what you can do is you can cut a T into the line as well, and
Yeah.
then put
Oh,
that valve on the end of the tube coming off the T, and you can turn that and let air out to let less air go into your chamber.
Yeah,
Sure.
I have those
Nicole-
too. I have
Yeah,
T-splitters.
that'll work
Also.
real. That would work real well.
Nicole said she has 2 valves that hers goes through to get the proper amount of bubbles. We got to see that. We need a video. Tag me,
Yeah,
Nicole.
yeah.
Yeah.
And MG wants, always tag Robert King too, so that he knows that, he can use your experiments to help him. better the product. And MG wants to know, is the new char the extra stuff that came with the chamber, Robert?
Yes. Most likely. Who is MG? I don't know who that is. Hold on.
Mary
It's
Grace.
Mary. Yeah.
Mary
Oh,
Grace.
yes, Mary. I believe so. If you could send me a picture of it, I can let you know.
Great. And
Yeah,
absolute
because I know
zero.
you
I
sent me some
apologize.
in a baggie with the chambers. So, and I think
Good. And absolute zero, I apologize. You said charcoal and design. I wasn't trying to correct you. I was just trying to point out like faux line. So no offense meant there. And the chamber looks so cool. And Mary said her full name there. I probably shouldn't have posted that. Sorry, but that's
Hi, Mary.
And have you seen a lot of, I'm just curious because, you know, we talk about the chambers constantly. Have you seen a lot of seahorse keepers coming to you lately?
Yeah. I have a lot of Seahorse people that have gotten CharChambers, and it's very exciting. And, you know, I tell you, out of all the CharChambers I've sold, and it's been quite a few, I have never gotten any negative feedback whatsoever. Not once, which is awesome. And I hear a lot of people, you know, like they're so happy with the results. And that gives me a great feeling, you know, it really does. I got to figure out how to turn this camera around so we can do a quick drawing. What do you think?
I'm thinking that sounds fabulous. And I was going to say too, I'm so glad you came up with this product. I'm happy with it in my tank. I definitely recommend it. But let's do your giveaway, please.
I got to figure out how to turn this camera around. And I could have added this to my Facebook somehow, but I'm not that technologically advanced.
That's all right. Just
I
share
am
it later.
very technologically challenged. Let's see. What does that do? Nope, that doesn't do it. Nope, that doesn't do it. Oh, wait. I see people now. Hold on. I couldn't see people the whole time. I didn't know how to do that.
we're here.
I can't figure out how to turn the
Technology's
camera.
I know, I always have that problem too.
Yeah. Oh,
And
look at all
if you're looking at it on a screen, you can share the screen too. But whatever.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it on my television. I put it up on my TV. Wow, a lot of comments. I missed them all. I am so sorry, guys.
Oh. And I'm
Oh,
sorry
next time,
too, you
next
guys.
time.
Anything I missed, I try, but as I'm talking, it's so hard to keep up.
Well,
And
Next-
Ginger's sharing your pages for sure.
when I can't
Next
comment,
time.
I can see, I guess those comments come from YouTube and I can see them because I'm in the stream, but I can't comment.
Ah,
Yeah.
Hi, Amy Given.
We're in this stream.
I gotta
We
figure out.
haven't
Amy,
figured that part out yet.
hang on. I gotta figure this out. There's gotta be a
MG,
way.
I'm in my jammies too. What are you talking about? And Tyann said just spin and win, and announce the winner. Agree, but it's always nicer to share it if we can.
Guys, I'm sorry. I messed up here. Hold on. All right, am I back?
It's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry
You're
about
still
that.
here.
We didn't lose you. You've been here.
You never left.
I'm
Yeah.
trying. I'm trying here. I can't figure this
It's
out.
okay.
I'm just
No
hitting
worries.
buttons. I'm hitting buttons. I don't know.
Tyann, I was gonna say if you're able to send me the names, I could do it real quick, easily. Or like you said, you could just spin it and announce it. We trust
Yeah,
you.
What
we
happens
trust
if
We
you,
we-
trust you.
Robert.
But you
Can
gotta
you
see it for
screen
the
and do it?
experience. Hold on.
I know.
I
Look,
don't know if
I
you're
can
gonna be able to do
do
this. Hold on. Can you see the
There we
TV or
go.
not?
I
Look,
can
you hear
guys, I
Yeah.
can do it in 10 seconds. Here's my wheel of names right here. Just need the names.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, he's doing something. Here we
It
go.
sounds
Let
like
me make
we're
it
in the
big.
casino.
Can you
All
see
right.
it?
Yes.
Yes.
MG, congratulations, MG. What'd you win?
All
MG has
right,
been
Mary.
a very good contestant tonight. So glad.
Yeah.
What did you win, MG? I didn't even say the prize. You got
Good question.
well, you have a char chamber, unless you'd rather have a char. It doesn't matter. It's 100. Let me show you the bags of char real quick. These are 100. Look at the bags. Aren't the bags cool?
They
Yeah.
really are.
Yeah, you got the sharks on there. It's 100 gallons worth of char in here. And that's one of the prizes. And of course, the other prize is the char chamber. There we go.
So
So
what
yeah,
did
all right.
MG win?
Well,
Yay.
MG won a char chamber.
Okay.
So
All right.
if she would rather have the char, she can message me and let me know she'd rather have the char, because I know I believe MG already has a char chamber.
I think MG said she needs another one for another
There we
tank.
go.
But
There
go
you go.
on.
You got it.
Go on.
Yeah.
All right. And let's do one for the char now.
Okay.
How's that sound? This is for a bag of char. Let's do that. Let's see if I can do it this way. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Here we go. Who's going to be? No whammies.
I feel like I'm in Reno.
Daniel.
All right, Daniel, congratulations. He gets a bag of char. Now we're going to do another bag of char for Absolute Zero. I know Absolute Zero needs some char. And we're going to do one more char chamber.
Yes.
And that's it for now. Here we go. No whammies. Melinda Stewart. All right. Awesome. That's cool. That's great. All right. We got it.
That's awesome. And we thank you, Robert, for not only producing this amazing product, the char and the chamber, but also, being so giving and sharing with this channel and sharing in general and hoping that when you guys get your chambers and your char, give feedback. We need to hear more about how it's working. We need to really share the knowledge and help people know that this can help their tanks, right? I mean, every single one of us are using chambers in our Seahorse tanks. So, but Robert, you were going to say more. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to say I really I love Wine Wednesday. I love what you guys do. I love the whole Seahorse vibe, and it's just awesome. I also wanted to promote a few things real quick if I can, like Tank Talk with Tyann. If you guys aren't there, go to Tank Talk with Tyann. Also, I wanted to wear, and I was telling Tyann this on the phone before, I wanted to wear my Polo Reef shirt tonight, but it's in the wash. It's in the laundry. But Polo Reef, if you go to poloreef.com, everything that you purchase from Polo Reef, they have shirts, they have hoodies, they have cup cozies, and all kinds of things. Every single dollar that you spend there, it goes to helping schools with marine science type programs. So I got a shirt, absolutely, and I feel good about that money going to a good cause. And also we have right here, Reef Nutrition. Reed Mariculture.
Absolutely.
It's
we love mariculture.
The gold standard.
I remember them when they were Reed Mariculture.
Yeah.
That was nice. Yeah, me too. I remember Randy and Tim Reed.
I called him one time. I got a bunch of rotifers from him, and I called back about something else. I said, "Oh, by the way, you shorted me. I ordered 100,000, and you shorted me 1,000, and they're getting ready to send me a brand new shipment." I go, no.
Hey, Robert,
yes.
Can you send me links to every, like the company that the proceeds go to schools and such? I want to know that link, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Send them to me. I'll put them in the description. And definitely go watch Tank Talk with Tyann. It's an amazing show. She always has the best guests. I mean, she's really helping the reefing community. I can't speak enough about Tank Talk with Tyann. Doing a great job.
Yes. She's awesome.
Anything else you wanted to shout out?
No, I think that's about it. But if you could also send me the names of the people who won the prizes, because my memory is so bad. The only one I remember is Melinda Stewart. No, I'm kidding. And MG and Daniel, and there was one other. Absolute Zero. Okay.
That's right. But I got you. I'll put you in contact. No problem. And
awesome.
Again, guys, go watch Tank Talk with Tyann. If you want to become a Seahorse Whisperer member, it's very easy. It's helps the channel. Definitely do so. We got some cool things coming up. But for now, we just appreciate Robert King coming and sharing with us tonight. Get yourself a char chamber for sure. And I can't wait for myself to purchase the new char. Hey, Robert, I did want to ask, on your site or contacting you personally, can you order just the char? Like, is there a link on a
Oh
website
yeah.
to do so?
Yeah, I don't have the shopping cart set up on the site yet. But
Okay.
you can just message me and I can get you whatever you need. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm going to have fry soon. So when I set up my testing, I want to use your new char to see how it
All right.
goes.
All
But
right. You got it. Absolutely.
thank you. We thank you so much for coming. We love when you come. We love your products, and we just appreciate your sharing because you share such interesting and valuable information. So thank you so much. And for tonight, we're going to sign off. If you guys don't have anything else for the live, everybody good?
Good.
It was
Night.
my pleasure.
Yeah.
And go to
Thank you.
zombieclownfish.com.
Good to
Zombie
see you,
clownfish.
Robert. Thank
Dot-
you.
Thank
dot com.
Zombieclownfish.com, guys. Zombieclownfish.com.
Thank you,
All right.
Diane. Thank you, Robert.
Yes, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Tyann. I did forget
Yes.
to thank Tyann. Thank
Pleasure
you,
was all
Tyann.
mine.
We
Thank you.
appreciate you. All
Awesome.
right. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Cheers.
Okay.
Everybody cheers.